On September 27, 1986, the city of Cleveland released 1.5 million balloons into the sky.
And the far end is up, and there they go, John.
The Guinness Book of World Records has just been broken in Cleveland. Over 1,500,000 balloons going up in the air at this very, very moment. Look at the cloud below. We did it!
We did it, John! There it goes!
What began as a charity event aimed at breaking the world record quickly turned into one of the most disastrous spectacles in modern history. Within hours, the massive cloud of balloons forced the local airport to shut down, caused multiple traffic accidents on a major highway, and tragically leading to the deaths of 2 people. To understand why Cleveland did this, you have to know what Cleveland had become by 1986. Between 1970 and 1980, the city lost 25% of its population. Factories closed, neighborhoods emptied, and then there was the river. The Cuyahoga River, flowing directly through the city, had become so polluted it literally caught fire. The most famous blaze happened in 1969, and it turned Cleveland into a national punchline. Late-night hosts mocked it. Newspapers ran headlines. Someone gave it a nickname, the mistake on the lake. By 1986, Cleveland wasn't just struggling economically, it was struggling to believe in itself. But something was shifting. The city had just won its bid to host the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, beating Chicago and Memphis. There was momentum, a feeling that maybe the worst was over. And that's when city leaders saw their opportunity. They didn't want to recover quietly. They wanted to announce their comeback to the entire country. The idea came from the United Way of Greater Cleveland. They wanted to launch their annual fundraising campaign with something unforgettable, and they had a number in mind: 2 million balloons, released simultaneously above downtown Cleveland. There was only one man on earth qualified to pull this off. His name was Treb Heining. He'd started at 15, selling Mickey Mouse balloons at Disneyland, inflating and tying at a pace of 20 per minute. By the 80s, he'd coordinated the balloon releases at the 1984 Olympics and 15 Super Bowl halftime shows. But the reason Cleveland called him was one specific event. In 1985, for Disneyland's 30th anniversary, Heining released over 1 million balloons simultaneously, setting a Guinness World Record. Cleveland wanted more. They wanted 2 million. Heining said yes. 6 months of planning followed. A rectangular structure the size of a city block was built in Public Square, 3 stories high, covered in a net originally designed to hold space shuttle payloads. 5 tanker trucks delivered 700,000 cubic feet of helium. Over 2,500 volunteers, mostly high school students, showed up to fill the balloons by hand. The night before the launch, a storm hit with 60-mile-per-hour winds. The structure nearly collapsed. The team worked through the night to repair it. By morning, Balloonfest was still on.
Oh, it's something that, they predicted 70% chance of showers today, and I think this is a prime example of what United Way is trying to do in terms of saying, it's Cleveland, it's your time. It's time to say yes, it's time to say it is a happening city. We are on the move. It's no longer the butt of jokes or anything. I've been in this city now for 6 months, and I absolutely love it. My wife and I have even talked about moving here, and our friends in LA think we're nuts.
Over 100,000 people packed Public Square on September 27th. At 1:50 p.m., the net opened. 1,429,643 balloons surged into the sky. Within seconds, they were dense enough to blot out the 52-story terminal tower. The crowd, people who had watched their city become a joke for a decade, erupted. People hugged strangers. Parents held their children up to see.
It is awesome, ladies and gentlemen, to actually be down here and see the multicolors that are going up in the air at this moment.
We did it, John.
This is it.
Let's do it for Cleveland.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no mistake on the lake anymore. Cleveland has now broken the Guinness Book of World Records and released over 1,500,000 balloons.
For about 30 minutes, Cleveland was doing something nobody had ever done before. Then, the weather changed. The balloons were supposed to rise until pressure caused them to pop and disintegrate harmlessly at altitude. Instead, they hit a front of cold air. The helium inside contracted, and 1.5 million balloons started coming down. Within 10 minutes of launch, balloons were raining from the sky across the city. On the westbound shoreway, descending balloons caused a 10-car pileup. Burke Lakeford Airport was forced to shut down for 30 minutes as balloons blanketed the runway. Out on Lake Erie, it was worse. A Coast Guard helicopter was already searching for two missing fishermen, Raymond Brick and Bernard Sir, who had gone out the night before and never came home. The pilot described flying through the balloon debris like moving through an asteroid belt. From the air, the clusters of latex on the water looked identical to life preservers. Every potential survivor turned out to be another balloon. The search continued for days. Both bodies eventually washed ashore. Lawsuits followed. Raymond Brick's widow sued the United Way for $3.2 million, claiming the balloon release had impeded the search. The case settled out of court. An Arabian horse breeder sued for $100,000, claiming balloons had spooked her prize horses into permanent injury. And the environmental damage spread across hundreds of kilometers. Balloons washing up on Canadian beaches, tangled around birds, drifting through Lake Erie. The fundraiser, designed to raise money, lost money due to cost overruns.
Here's what makes this story stranger than you think. In 1986, nobody called it a disaster. The front page the next morning ran triumphant photos. A week later, an editorial called Balloonfest, fun-filled. At the United Way's annual meeting days after the launch, balloons were the centerpieces on every table. The disaster narrative didn't exist yet. It took 25 years and the internet to build it. In 2011, a local paper published short anniversary piece. Then viral articles followed. In 2018, The Atlantic called it the Balloonfest that went horribly wrong, using words like tragic and haunting. Millions of people who weren't alive in 1986 learned a version of the story that the people who were there didn't recognize. The most damaging claim, that Balloonfest killed the fishermen. But the timeline doesn't support it. Raymond Brick and Bernard Sher went missing the night before the launch, September 26th. By the time the balloons were released, they had been in Lake Erie for at least 14 hours. Water temperature was around 68 degrees. The Coast Guard confirmed in 2024 that Balloonfest had nothing to do with their deaths. The men were almost certainly already gone before the first balloon left the ground. The balloons complicated the search. They did not cause the tragedy, but the myth won anyway. Treb Heining still works with Disney parks worldwide. He's considered the father of balloon art. The 1988 Guinness Book of World Records lists the Cleveland launch once. Then Guinness retired the category entirely. They now refuse to recognize environmentally unsound events. Cleveland holds a world record in a category that no longer exists. That's the real legacy of Balloonfest, a moment when 100,000 people stood in a square and cheered for something beautiful, not knowing what was already happening on the lake. They just knew that for once, Cleveland was doing something nobody had ever done before.